We really need to work seriously toward improving our standing as a quality vendor.
In too many instances, product quality is not equal to today's needs.
It amazes me that a company as well organized as General Electric Company could permit the left hand to do something that the right hand was trying to avoid.
No matter how we slice it, customers are what everything we do is all about. We in industrial sales, as well as all General Electric sales organizations, are very aware that there are, shall we say, pressures on us all to get sales billed and profits up. To help all of us toward just that goal, I asked some of our ISD people to solicit the cooperation of a few of our customers. They did, and almost without exception, our customers welcomed the opportunity, and they didn't sugarcoat their statements either. We asked them to be honest, and they were. We told them we wanted to know not only what they expect from us in the future, but also what they expect from us today, right now. One of our very important customers is the Union Carbide Corporation. In 1969, Carbide had worldwide sales of almost $3 billion. On this particular day, Tom Mackey, manager of the eastern region of ISD, was calling on Jim Bruton, Vice President of Engineering of Carbide's Chemicals and Plastics Operations Division, and Al Darcy, Corporate Director of Purchases for Union Carbide.
Well, when you put so much pressure on availability and reliability, how does this zero into your purchasing objectives?
Well, I think we have to say that our purchasing and engineering objectives are unified objectives. We have had the experience of striving for low fixed cost, first cost on the plants, and we sense that maybe we've overlooked some elements that would assure this availability. The fixed costs go on these units, and if they're not operating and delivering product, why, it's an intolerable business situation.
One area, Jim, that I'd like to get into is what happens after an order in the after-sales situation. You have some advice for us there?
Yes, I sure do. We've got an example here with General Electric where we purchased a computer system and we assigned a project team to it, and you did too. Now, these two project teams have been working closely together. There's been close integration, and transfer of information has been free and flows freely, on time, and we are very confident that we're going to get a good job on the computer. On the other hand, we bought an integrated gas turbine, and there neither we nor you have a project team on this thing, at least not tying their efforts together. I realize that part of the problem here was involved the strike, but in addition to that, one of the most serious problems we've had is getting misinformation out of the engineering department, and that sends us off in all directions, and causes us to have to redo things, causes us to have a lot of telephoning and a lot of travel.
Can you tell us something about the problems of field labor at the site and what a supplier can do to contribute to that part of the job?
I think we see a need for preparing the goods for shipment for the sort of rough conditions that they meet on arrival at the site. It would help to have the components shipped together. It would help to have everything properly identified. Some of the problems we encounter are of the simplest nature, unidentified pieces arriving. The need for installation instructions getting there at the time the goods are getting there. Some testing instructions. I sense, Tom, that there's more need for reflux between the owner, the equipment man, and the contractor who's installing the equipment, or his subcontractor.
I do think the time is going to come when we will have to ship big systems all in one piece so that they can be simply plugged in some cases, and start them right there. Checked out before they leave the factory. The quality of the work in the field has been slipping off. And this means to me that you got to get the quality by having the factory do the job.
So then you would put first on the hit parade is reliability or continuity of operation, something of that nature.
Yes, we'd like to know what to expect. You know, the way the airlines have sort of expect 10,000 hours of operation on the engines, we have an indefinite expectation throughout our plant. And with sort of single train design, we're down at unexpected times each week. Now, if we could be sure that the seventh week of the quarter we could be down with everything to be taken care of, that would be fine. But we don't have that reliability or dependability factor organized in the equipment. And the drives and controls are a significant part of this dependability requirement.
And you don't feel this is an inconsistent objective with low capital investment?
It very well may be inconsistent with low capital investment on specific units. What we're really talking about here is low capital investment for the whole plant. That doesn't mean that you economize on those critical items of equipment that you are depending on to keep that plant running and producing.
To get closer to our products, we also went to Union Carbide's chemical plant in Taft, Louisiana, where Hal Grunsky, our sales engineer, talked with George Daniels, Carbide's plant manager, and his assistant, Joe Fallon.
As a major purchaser of electrical apparatus, can you tell us what you will expect of a good supplier in the 70's?
Reliability and good reliability specs, good parts, good repair service, good preventative maintenance procedures, and good operating manuals, including all of the auxiliaries. I think this, plus some arrangement to have sufficient spare parts accessible on a reasonably short notice, is what we're going to be looking for.
In what ways would you say that General Electric Company could respond to earn a reasonable increase in your electrical products and service business?
Well, one way I think would be to improve the electrical service. Actually, our purchasing organization rates GE on electrical service as C. This is as an electrical supplier, which is barely passing. This involves one important factor in that they feel that, in general, GE does not stock for the industrial field in their service locations. They do a much better job of stocking for other areas.
In this connection, then, what should suppliers such as General Electric be doing differently in after-sales service now and in the future?
Well, of course, stocking the required parts to service what we feel is pretty important. Also, showing a real desire to correct problems quickly and effectively. And last but not least, not necessarily least here, but the improvement of the manuals and the training, communication with respect to how to use the machines properly from the user's point of view is also worth consideration.
There you have some opinions from Union Carbide. But what about other companies? Currently, New York's Metropolitan Transportation Authority is engaged in a $1 billion modernization and expansion program with electrification as its keynote. Jack Dwyer, our Northeastern Regional Manager of Transportation System Sales, interviews the authority's director, Dr. William J. Ronan.
Dr. Ronan, as you view the coming decade, what trends do you see having the greatest impact on the transit industry?
This is going to be, I think, a period of very considerable building of new rail rapid transit systems, and certainly a tremendous expansion and improvement, in other words, modernization of the existing transit systems.
what obstacles do you foresee as being the most severe to the accomplishment of that growth?
I have been very disappointed, and so have my colleagues, in the state of the art in the transit industry. There's been very little research and development in this industry compared to certain other industries. And I think the need for R&D is emphasized by the current situation. And I'm talking, first of all, about the need for doing R&D on the kind of systems we have and to produce some of the elements that I spoke of before in terms of reliability, automation, speed, energy saving, and so on.
How about from a marketing and management standpoint?
I found that the industry was a sort of pleasant anarchy that existed, whereby people were selling components and people putting them together in vehicles, and nobody really was looking at urban mass transportation as a system. And it's only when systems engineering and system consciousness really pervades the industry that I think we're going to make that kind of progress that's indicated we must make in the decade ahead.
Litton Industries has its Ingalls shipbuilding division in Pascagoula, Mississippi. At Ingalls, Lloyd Drury, the Southern District Manager of our Defense Facilities Sales Operation, talked with Ellis Gardner, Jr. Gardner, an ex-General Electric man, is now a Senior Vice President of Litton Industries and the corporate executive in charge of the Marine Group.
Mr. Gardner, would you mind telling us how you at Litton and at Ingalls are combating this foreign competition?
Obviously, as far as I'm concerned, if it should ever come to pass that we are asked to compete for U.S. flag shipping in competition with the Japanese or the Europeans, I would expect the privilege of being able to buy all of my components for our ships in the foreign markets in competition with the American suppliers. So I think it behooves the American supplier to be with this thing in Washington and with his congressmen, and not let just the few congressmen along the shorelines of the United States fight this battle.
We feel as a supplier that equipment, surely in the marine industry, is becoming more sophisticated and more complex. What impact does this have upon you and your supplier?
The impact that it has upon us, of course, is that we must be much more conversant, and we must have many in-house skills for which we used to depend upon you. To this extent, we are growing less dependent upon you because we need to have these skills ourselves. At the same time, and by the same token, it seems to me that you must increase your responsiveness and increase your ability to come in and help us solve the complex systems problems, particularly the systems problems, as opposed to the components problems that we encounter.
Mr. Gardner, do you know of any situations that might have been created by the General Electric Company in recent years that has caused you any, should I say, undue difficulty or put you in any particular situation that was uncomfortable?
There was one which put us and our customer in a very serious situation. And that's when two separate organizations of the General Electric Company chose Washington for the debate as to whose propulsion method should go into the DD-963 destroyer. It amazes me that a company as well organized as General Electric Company could permit the left hand to do something that the right hand was trying to avoid. It embarrassed us, it embarrassed our customer, it embarrassed everybody who had anything to do with it.
Now let's turn to the Chemical Construction Corporation of Boise Cascade. Chemico, as it is generally known, had sales of $98 million in 1969. Here Tom Mackey conducted the interview, this time with Chemico's president, Charles Bonin.
What about our current products that we're manufacturing now? Do we have some shortcomings as far as your industry is concerned?
Yes,
The greatest problem we have today with almost all suppliers of equipment is reliability. We are finding just unbelievable numbers of instances of lack of quality control and in lack of care in design.
Is this brought about by new demands, or is your industry stressing products further?
In some of these cases that I have mentioned, yes, we are stressing products further, but in others, I believe it is just a lack of sufficient quality control at the time of the manufacture.
Just a basic manufacturing problem,
Yes.
as you said. Do you have any further thoughts that you want to tell General Electric as we look forward to serving Cameco and our mutual customers?
There's one item. Our schedules, construction schedules, are much shorter than those of much heavier industries like steel mills or power plants. We have found an increasing lack of ability to rely upon the promises of suppliers in our industry. I'm sure you know that the Japanese have an almost unbelievable reputation for meeting their delivery promises. We have bought a considerable amount of Japanese equipment over the years, and we had found that to be true also. Our whole business, as I said, is geared to a relatively short life for the engineering portion and the construction portion of a job. Therefore, since time is money, and it really is to us, it's a direct reflection. The time we take is directly reflected in our profit or lack thereof. Delivery reliability is something that is very important to us.
We went to the Peerless Manufacturing Company of Dallas, Texas, for our last interview. Peerless, a small growth company, had sales last year of about $6 million. B.J. Parker, our manager of OEM sales in the South Central region, talked with Peerless President Don Sillers.
Don, the risk in venturing into new businesses and taking new products to marketplace are increasing. How can GE help you share this risk or reduce this risk of new product ventures into the market?
One area of risk I'd like to bring up that's sometimes overlooked is when you've taken the most risky step, and that is you built the first product and it's been successful. Then you get in an area where I think a lot of business people fumble the ball, and that is that they forfeit the success that they've earned at this stage because they can't get into production. You've simply got to deal with this problem once you're out of the incubator stage and you're just starting to walk, that you can get knocked down by losing the first few meaningful orders because you can't make delivery. A company like us, in turn, we have a difficulty of giving you firm orders. We don't know whether you're going to get an order for 1 truck or 6 trucks or 18, and we don't want to lose any of these orders. I think you need to follow our sales possibilities and negotiations rather closely.
You chose General Electric as a supplier for your drive system. Why did you make this selection?
Well, it's a little difficult to answer. I don't think we really chose General Electric. Or what really happened was that General Electric came to us suggesting the application of electric wheel in mine vehicles. So you got there first. We got so thoroughly indoctrinated with GE's thoughts and approaches and equipment, but we have not asked for any quotes from any other vendors. I think the major reason is that we don't feel that anybody is in a position like General Electric is to provide the complete electric system and all the components that General Electric can provide.
What do you put a most evaluation on in areas of service and et cetera?
Keeping the business, once you get it, to me, pretty well boils down to how you take care of the customer's problems.
To get an even wider view of customer-oriented opinions, we talked to 4 of our ISD regional managers. Again, we only have time for a sampling of their responses. First, I asked them, what do your customers tell you they want from General Electric in the 70s?
Our customers really want good, bright ideas from their vendors. Ideas which will save them money or permit them to make more money on their capital expenditures.
They are hungry for better ways to get their jobs done, and they'll spend their money fast when we can take good, solid ideas to them which actually are better.
Well, some of you may not like to hear this, but customers urgently want such simple things as integrity and credibility in their business relationships with General Electric. Credibility of promises in sales, in engineering, in manufacturing, in instruction, and in documentation. This means top management understanding in General Electric of the customer's project needs and coordination within General Electric on an inter-division or even inter-group basis.
He expects us to be competitive. Competitive in value, quality, service, policies, and in something else which is rather hard to define, and that is the ease and flexibility with which we do business.
Regardless of the changes, they expect the General Electric sales engineer to know their electrical needs and to keep them up to date electrically.
Customers want to make a commitment with somebody, and General Electric is 400,000 somebodies of varying degrees of mediocrity and excellence. Customers come one at a time as persons, not as companies. And you had better remember that every time you break a promise, you have hurt someone.
What changes in the market do you see that affect industrial businesses?
In too many instances, product quality is not equal to today's needs.
No company can really afford to have any buyer who is not both smart and tough. We have a good example of such a buyer here in the Western region. He has no philosophical constraints against pitting foreign competitors against domestic suppliers. First, anytime he sees what he calls protective pricing patterns or competitive complacency, he is going to use foreign competition to the hilt to stir things up.
We are increasingly seeing highly structured project teams that bring real decisions as they evaluate our offerings.
If General Electric is to have credibility as a systems supplier, we must accept the disciplines of product quality and reliability that will cause customers to evaluate General Electric as the unquestioned leader in this field.
As cost squeezes and foreign competition intensify, the customers are turning to more sophisticated and automated means of producing their products. They look especially to the electrical and the electronic manufacturers to make substantial contributions along these lines.
As the man between the customers and the product departments, what do you need for the 70s?
Customers are turning to rating of their suppliers, and the good quality vendors will have a dollar advantage in buying decisions. We really need to work seriously toward improving our standing as a quality vendor. This is without doubt the most serious problem facing us as we enter the 70s. And it's really not just us. The marketplace is full of suppliers doing a perfectly lousy job. Perhaps it's a sign of the times. But the tragic part is that we, right along with other industrials, have been affected. We seem to tolerate mediocrity. Oftentimes, we feel quite justified in shipping inadequately tested equipment, or even incompletely developed equipment, or shipping equipment with shortages, because these actions help us get items off the manufacturing floor, or they enable us to get earlier billing. The short-term measurement pressures cause actions at times which are quite odd and illogical if we are sincerely concerned about our reputation as a quality vendor.
New approaches of any kind will be viewed with new interest. but company policies of any kind that cannot stand the test of logic will be open to question. This should provide a field day for the creative salesman with a flexible, creative company behind him. And this should mean us.
Even customers agree that profit for GE is a good and necessary thing. But if our values offered do not best fill their needs, if we abuse their confidences with broken promises or unfilled commitments, or if we are found so fractionated and uncoordinated that the customer distrusts the integrity of commitments between us, then General Electric will have a real tough time getting any orders for profit. It should be that General Electric commands and collects a premium of profit because of our visible customer orientation.
Buying and selling is still a very human thing. And the climate in which we will be operating in the 70s undoubtedly will be an increasingly humanized climate with new emphasis on individuality. In spite of all the problems our company has had in the past 10 years, some of which have been rather abrasive to image, there is still a mystique about General Electric in the eyes of most of our customers that is hard to define. But I think it is recognized by all of us in ISD. There should be a world of meaning to us here, for it has been our people posture, as much as our products, that has given us the competitive edge in the past, and this will be true even more so in the future.
We, of course, want all those values that we talk about. Quality, on-time shipments, good field service, product innovations, and all with competitive prices. However, if I had but one choice, it would be for an attitude that recognizes our customer as our friend, not as our adversary. With such an attitude deeply implanted and working at all levels, I would cease to worry so much about our short-term objectives and measurements, which all too frequently seem to forget that the customer really has and always will have the ultimate choice to determine how well we do.
It is my sincere recommendation that each section, department, division, group, set aside a specific day soon and really look critically at your market customer orientation.
And there you have it. What does it all boil down to? What message can we draw from these interviews for our work in the 70s? I think it's quite clear. Our customers tell us that they will penalize us for poor product quality, shipment of products with less than adequate testing, shipment of products that are incomplete, prices for products that are higher than he can build them himself or get elsewhere from competition, including foreign sources, inadequate parts and repair support, and a poor record of keeping promises. On the positive side, our customers have indicated that they will reward us for top quality products and systems, reliable products that they can depend on performing as applied, service and parts to fit their needs whenever they need them, meeting our promises of shipment and service, helping them to solve their problems. Let's face it, from a straight dollars and cents point of view, we, General Electric, cannot afford to design, build, ship, or service a product that works against our reputation for quality and reliability. However, quality and reliability of products and services are not the only messages we received. If we are to believe our customers, here are some things we should put on our to-do list for the 70s. We must work more closely with them in the planning, design, installation, and startup phases, and in the training of their operators on our equipment. Our customers are asking us to see how our products are being used in their factories and to try to understand better the needs of their businesses. And they've told us about a few of the things we can anticipate in the 70s. A demand for products that will be competitive on a worldwide basis. A demand for innovative, coordinated, and integrated total systems for all phases of industrial, transportation, and communications businesses, where today we may be only a components or a subsystem supplier. More consideration to the total installed cost and the owning cost of our equipment, rather than just the FOB factory price for the product. That, gentlemen, is our customers' message and their challenge. I think Joe Lester summed it up when he said,
If we listen well to all the signals from a changing marketplace and respond imaginatively, we can win.
What we do in the 70s is up to us. Maintaining our customer image, improving it, and increasing our sales won't happen by themselves. We've got work to do. The people of the product departments and we of the sales organizations must work together and with our customers to satisfy our customers' needs and make this our springboard to greater business successes for ourselves and the company as a whole in the 70s.